Hi, bet it's Jeff here. And the the Quebec Canadian law just came out, the Bill 96, and I just saw this out on LinkedIn, and I thought, okay, what's this about? Language reform, French language reform, pretty major change here. I should actually go into consulting on this topic. This would be great. I could actually retire doing this. Um, I mean, this really interests me because I've been doing French for nearly 40 years, and I've worked in a lot of other languages too. And I've kind of been through this whole thing, this whole language reform topic, and for minority languages, and for French, and for watching German and what's happening. And this is and watching what's been happening with Quebec for 3 decades, and so this is really interesting. Um, that what it's going to do. So the key thing, the key takeaways I'm getting out of this, and try to, is that this Bill 96 has received royal assent. Okay, which means that this prevails, right, over all previous things, basically in business and civil administration, and for consumers, and for anything, right? So pretty much everything that's been done could be done bilingual in the past is like it must be done in French now. So this includes contracts, this includes new business ventures. Everything has to be in French first, right? All the drafts have to be presented in French first. And it's not just consumers. This it covers civil administration, civil services, public services, um, and so we're getting to a lot of stuff here. Um, so so some of the things here. So this new obligation, kind of the key things here to get it. So it's about the language they use in commerce and business. So basically business relations, right? Contracts, the signage. Okay, so all the things you're going to see in posters and signs and stuff, and all communications between government and businesses and educational institutions and the courts, right? So this is big. So some of the things I've been just watching. So I already talked about the contracts one, so that's going to be really interesting, right? And that includes like land and property stuff. So you have to, even if it's done in, you could be done in one language, and it's got to be done in French first, right? So this is the thing. So this creates French as a source language, which for translation, which is kind of interesting because in a lot of cases, people use English first, and then you translate it into French and other languages. See, and you build all these translation systems in that way, and actually automatic translation and all the assisted translation, all that to do it this way. And now this is going to completely just throw all this up in the air, right? Because now we're going to have to use French as. I'm not saying it's bad, because using French is actually better for some of the automated translation, to tell you the truth. Because more specific words and not so ambiguous. But the fact that it has to be done in French, where it's just kind of throws all the processes off. Um, some of the interesting things here, I mean, and I worked in the translation field for long enough. Now I haven't worked all my career in the translation field, but enough of it to know when you use these moments of opportunity to sell, because this is great for the translation business. This is really great. Well, actually not. It's actually great for the content creation business now, because it'll all be in French, right? Or they're going to have to create translations of everything from English to French and then present it always in French. So it actually is going to speed up the translation process. It's going to cause a lot of problems, right? So, I mean, it's going to make everything more costly too, right? Or you're going to have to do it all in French, and that you're going to have to hire all these French-speaking people to do all the content creation initially. All the websites, also the websites, social media, and everything have to be in French, right? Um, which see, what was the statement here? I'm just reading through this. This is this one of these things is, so all the websites and marketing materials, so all the websites, the social media websites, newsletters, brochures, catalogs, and other manuscripts must be provided in French. This is like, wow. um, and this applies to businesses, in the past, only businesses with a physical establishment in Quebec were required to comply with the rule, but now it applies to everybody else, all outside of Quebec and Canada, right? So this is going to cause all kinds of great package and labeling. This is a really interesting one. So French must be in the package, but it's not just must be in the package. It needs to be, it says that the trademark must be provided in French. It must be in all that case. But on top of it, all the signs in commercial advertising, the French version must be double the size of text than the other languages, right? So, so it must be visually prominent. Oh, they said here sufficient presence, but visually prominent. Um, and so this is, I mean, this is worse than France. I mean, this is worse than France. I mean, I'm here at McDonald's tonight getting a coffee and stuff, and I mean, here you'll sometimes see Sundays and stuff, and they'll actually put the word in English, and then they'll give a translation into French. Here it's saying it's got to be in French first, and it must be in French first everywhere. And you know, like, so this is just this is gonna like, I mean, McDonald's not gonna suffer from this one, but they'll just have to, you know, they'll keep it in French or whatever. But this is like going to affect a lot of businesses. So not business, everything. This going to small businesses are going to really, well, small local businesses are probably already in French, right? But this is going to be really interesting here. But it's going to force all the product catalogs and all the SKUs and everything, the data descriptions, the data. I mean, data sheets and everything's going to be in French. So you can imagine consumer electronics and all the batteries, and everything's going to be in French. So this is really interesting from a. I mean, I really think about this in this whole English-only movement in the United States, where there's no official language. Well, see, this is different. This is the case of Canada, where it's, you know, English and French. These are official languages, right, of the entire country across all provinces. But this is way different, like in the United States, where there's no federal national language, you know, official federal language. So each state has its own language, and you have the English-only movement, and it's got to be in English and all that, which makes sense because there are pretty much, you know, English is the, you know, the spoken language. It's the language of all these states. Though there may be large communities, large communities, but I was getting this whole thing. And actually, in Florida, there are 3 official languages, right? English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole. For those who didn't know. So this, I mean, I already going to be 7 minutes, and this is the kind of thing, you know, this is going to go for over. They're saying here that this can be a long, complex thing. So I don't want to go into all this here, but I think one of the things as a, you know, as a translation person in the translation business, this is really interesting from a legal point of view, because it can spur on a lot of creating budget for translation, all that. It can actually cause other costs by actually having other things too, from a side effects of that. And I don't want to go to all those things right here, but we can imagine how this can affect the language, the content creation, and, you know, transcreation, what do you want of this, and content creation, and then translation, all, and whatever you want to call this, localization, what do you want to call these things? But what I think as a linguist, the English thing, the really interesting thing, and as a sociolinguist, okay, because that's really why I got into this whole linguistics thing after just the language part. I just studied languages, but most of the books, okay, a lot of the books about linguistics and about you know, sociolinguistics and all these books on sociology of language and bilingual and think about bilingualism and all that, usually say, but mainly the sociolinguistics books will say that Canada is a case of bilingualism, right? Well, this reform is actually showing that it's not. Well, I'll give a case here. They had one case where they had a guy that wanted to get his medical, his surgery. There was a post on LinkedIn. He wanted to get his medical services in English because he's English speaking, right? And he wanted and they have a lot of things. It does show that if you get your medical treatments and care in your primary language, the outcome's going to be better. That's obvious, right? But then this whole thing, does this make it so that the health services don't have to be in French, right? Don't have to be in French. They can be in English. And there's a whole thing, is this going to apply, right? And so this is like freaking a lot of people out. So the really interesting thing here is, this is like a French only, okay? It's called it the French only, whatever you want to call it. And now there's thing but the thing is, there are loopholes in this thing, right? Because it doesn't show that it could be in English. for medical care and all that. So this is going to get deep, right? This is going to cause a lot of lawsuits. Basically, that's this. If it's not going to create more translation. Well, it will in the end cause more translation to actually document all the lawsuits and litigations. That's why I'm interested in this thing right now. So this, but from a coming from a linguistic point of view, so and a dialectology point of view, because that's the sociolinguistics and dialectology. That's why I kind of got into this linguistics thing for the field, after language part. A lot of the books say that it's a bilingual country, right? And so there's this assumption, especially in the French-speaking province, and then on the border, right? The whole Ontario, kind of right there on the border, Toronto, and all that kind of thing. That's kind of bilingual, right? Or right there on the border between the two, Quebec and that these are assumed to be bilingual. But this language reform is showing that it's really not necessarily bilingual, but it might be just diglossic. And this kind of throws. We have to write all the linguistics books again, right? We're gonna have to kind of rewrite some of these linguistics books, right? About the bilingualism, because it's going to this throws in the face that it's really not bilingual, it's diglossic. And diglossic means that you have a language for different domains, right? So you have a language at school, you might have a language at school and a language at work and a language at home, right? You might have different languages. Well, usually it's just two. But you can say there's a language at home and a language at work, right? Or a language at home and a language at school, right? And you have a language at home and you use the same language at home to be used in the public services, right? Civil service and all that stuff. So this is really interesting from that point of view, because it's going to question a lot of this. I mean, we don't have to write all these linguistics books over again or change everything. That they're already being affected by the whole inclusive language part of it, right? So, but I think this is something that the language and translation field needs to seriously consider as we're moving forward, right? This is going to give a lot of opportunities for a lot of translation companies to really make a lot of money, basically. So, or to provide a lot of new services or new ways of thinking and doing it. So give a big boost for in Canada, right? Where the language and translations are, having bilingual thing, even called hot dogs is chien chaud, right? I mean, I'm just kind of kidding at that level, but you got to have everything bilingual already. So everything's got to be translated, right? So this is really interesting. So I'll kind of put this video up on the posts and comments up on the couple of places where they've been posted, but this will be an interesting journey, right? And for those that are in it, ride the wake, right? Ride the wake of the ski. You're on ski, you got to ski that wake, right? You got to do it. Take this opportunity and do with it. Maybe I should go back and start doing this. So great. Okay, well, have a good evening, and look up Build 96. I'm looking at here the Build 96 actual place. The site I'm looking up on is it's up on actually on the Lionsbridge site. At the Lionsbridge site, they have a blog on this on regulated translation and localization. How will Quebec's bill affect your business? So how will Quebec's bill 96 affect your business? Look it up on the Lionsbridge site and lionsbridge.com. So that's a good starter, right? Have a good day.